Welcome everyone, this is Viking, and today we're going to do a mission involving pop-up points. So we're just going to start the jet without further ado. This one's going to be a dive bombing run, so we're going to set the bomb selector to Dike. All the targets are going to be pretty clustered up, so we're going to set the spacing to the minimum of 10 meters. (9099) as usual. Landing airfield is going to be Tund Island, 9008, and divert airfield is going to be right back here, 9915. Actually, before we go down to tact, we're going to punch in our target waypoint. So that is 5527582649115. And because I punched that in on the keypad as I was saying it, we got those coordinates flashing here. We're going to store that in waypoint B5. And then we're going to go over to tact and mark B5 as a target waypoint. And now we're going to punch in the pop-up point. It's two sets of 3 digits. The first is your heading to the target, and the second is your distance from the target. How far away do you want the pop-up point to be? So I'm going to type in 015. That means that when we reach the pop-up point, the target is going to be on a bearing of 015. So it's the bearing of the target from the pop-up point, not the other way around. And then we're going to type in 075 for 7.5 kilometers. Store that for B5. And that's all we need to do there. So let's roll on out to the runway. Wait a second. You know what's handy? Having weapons. Having weapons is pretty handy. Couple of bombs on. There's the third bomb rack. And there's the fourth. Give me the go-ahead. It's all well and good to try to keep the video short, but if you're in too much of a hurry, you can forget something important. Switch the HUD to nav mode. Line up on the runway. And it looks aligned. Press the reference button. And second stage afterburner. And pull up smoothly to place the velocity vector at the top of the tall line. Gear up. Third stage afterburner. Radar on. And hit 5 to cycle over to U5. HUD glass up. And for fuel reasons, once we get up to about 0.85 Mach, we're going to dial the afterburner back to the second stage. Alright, now when we switch this over to TID, we get our time to target. That's about 7 minutes. And so we've got some time to sort out our QFE. QFE is very, very important for bombing. You're going to miss if your QFE is out. Now, QFE is equal to QNH minus the altitude or elevation of the target divided by 9.3 if it's in meters, or divided by 30.5 if it's in feet. I like meters. So you can see the altitude over here is 9 meters. 9 divided by 9.3 is basically 1. The QNH is up here. It's 1013.3. So basically, I subtract 1 from that to get my QFE. We're pretty much already at that. Now it's 1012 instead of 1012.5, which is what it was before. So I've got my QFE dialed in. Generally speaking, you should not adjust QFE while the autopilot is engaged, because the autopilot goes by the barometric altimeter, and if you're at very low altitude, it can crash you into the deck. So obviously, be careful about that. About 5 minutes out. Good time to confirm that everything is set up the way you want. I'm gonna turn on my lights. The external fuel tank is empty, so we will drop that. Confirm that the bomb is in bomb mode is DYK for dive bombing. Confirm that the bomb spacing is minimal, so it will all land right in the same area. Because we're not interested in loiter time, it's just going to be a one and done thing. We don't have to worry too much about fuel consumption. Now I'm veering off target a little bit here because I want to fly over Kesham Island to get a turn-nav fix before I actually hit my pop-up point. When you've got weapons attached, it's hard to do supersonic speeds down on the deck. And high subsonic speeds are kind of what Afterburner Stage 2 is for. It still uses up a lot of fuel, but not near as much as Stage 3. So that's why we're sticking with Stage 2. We want to get there quickly, mostly for the purposes of not letting the video run too long. But it's also just fun to fly fast. But on an ordinary mission, I'd probably be setting my fuel or my engine RPMs to about 90%. In order to have some fuel efficiency and range. For this mission, it's not really needed though. I think my lights are still on. I should fence in before I reach the target area. Fenced. And it looks like we'll be flying well over Casham Island. So I can line up on the target point. Nav system says the alignment may be out by as much as a kilometer, but we're gonna get that straightened out momentarily. And that's a 5-0 on the tear nav. Gonna disable the low altitude HUD declutter because I want to be able to see the indications of my range to the waypoint, or the pop-up point I should say. Probably a good time to go back to full mill power. Alright, we got that distance indicator on the HUD now. If the declutter is on, you won't see it, so and it's that switch there that does it. Once we reach the pop-up point, we will switch the master mode to ANF. And pull up hard and turn towards our target. And it's that time. Master mode set to ANF. I'm going to drop the HUD reflector because the symbology is going to come up from underneath. And there is the target. So we'll maneuver to get her down there, and I've already screwed it up, but I think I might have been able to wing it. Yep. So the problem there was that I came in at too shallow of an angle, and I got my firing cue before I was ready to drop, but it was close enough that I figured I could just sort of drop them anyway. And it looks like I was right, because they're going off like popcorn. I just dropped the bomb racks so that I'll have maximum speed for getting back to the base, and yeah, that looks good. Target completely destroyed. So sloppy delivery, but the relevant concepts were illustrated. Gonna go to the landing airfield. And I see that that we're off by a little bit here because it's got us coming in for the opposite end of the runway. So we put it over to Banagran and we hit Elmau, and it changes it so we're coming in from the right side, or the correct side. We did some heavy maneuvering, so might as well get another tear nav fix on our way back to base. And we've got plenty of gas, 60%. So there's no reason to hold back. We can enjoy our Stage 3 afterburners. Obviously, when you're doing Mach 1.3 down on the deck, you gotta maneuver very gently. Don't want to over-G the pilot or over-G the wings. We are 20 kilometers out, so we're gonna go to full mil and enable the auto throttle. Whoops. I forgot that when you slow down from a speed like that, there's an upward pitch moment that you want to cancel out with trim. Going to put the HUD into manual landing mode. And obviously we're going way, way, way too fast, but that's all right. We can just come up to the threshold. And the Viggen bleeds off a lot of speed in tight turns. Gonna engage the thrust reverser. And we're slow enough to drop gear. Hard turn to kill off the last of the speed. And because we've got the thrust reverser, I'm going to land a little further down the runway than I need to. That fin hovering above the velocity vector means we're going too fast. When it touches the top of the velocity vector, we're on speed for landing. So it's just about right now. And I'll set her down here. Got to put the nose down with some forward stick, because the thrust reverser will not engage until you have weight on all your wheels. Put the HUD into standby. Disable the AFK. Reduce throttle. And as you can see, I could have landed much further down. It would have been fine. Generally right here is the furthest you can land without going off the end of the runway. That thrust reverser really, really slows the Viggen down. And then just to flex on the rest of the pilots, we're gonna reverse into our parking spot. Very important that you never hit the brakes while you're going backwards. You always use forward thrust to brake while going in reverse. And that is it. That is a complete mission in the Viggen. Now, before I exit, I will point out that if I plan to take off again, because I landed at a different airfield than I took off from, it's very important to go back to LS. Now it thinks I'm currently at Siri Island 9015. I am actually at Tunb Island 9008. So I gotta go ref Lola 9008 LS. If I don't do that, then when I take off again, I will have a nav system error and a bunch of shit. It will seem like it's working, but it's not working. So that is worth being careful of. And yep, that's it. That's a bombing run with dynamic waypoint creation and a pop-up point. Thanks for watching. Cheers.